Hi, everybody. This is Dawn from Intermountain Health. I'm doing this little video for you, and typically I teach yoga and meditation, but for this video, we're going to do a little myofascial rollout. This is something that can be done with a variety of tools that you already have. Probably not something like a foam roller. There might be some of it that you could do with a foam roller, but if you have a tennis ball around, we're going to be using the tennis ball. And the other thing is if you have two tennis balls and a sock, or I have these awesome rubber balls in a tote that are fantastic for myofascial rollout, but tennis balls work great. One of those stress balls that is more of that racquetball consistency is also great. But two of them would be helpful. And then the other thing I have is, it's called a half dome. It's half of a foam roller, but you can use a rolled up blanket instead if you don't have one of these, okay? So these are the two things that it would be helpful to have: two balls in a sock and either a half dome or a roll of blanket. And then we're gonna work on some lower body stuff, some feet, some calves, some shins, and then depending on how much time we have left, we might get up into the quads as well. So gather all of your stuff. You can hit pause on this, go grab some things, and we'll start centering like a yoga class for it. So once you have all of your things, make sure they're just right close by you, and then take a comfortable seat. You don't have to be sitting on the floor like I am. I have something under my hips. You can be sitting in a chair if you want to, okay? And then you can let your hands come to rest, let your eyes close, and for a few moments, just let yourself sense, let yourself feel your body as you breathe. Notice from your feet all the way up to your crown, if there are any things showing up in your body for tension, sensation, whatever it happens to be. Full, big, deep inhale and exhale in and out of your nose. And then you can softly open your eyes. And then we're going to come up to standing. And first thing we're going to do is check in on our feet. So you can go ahead and take balls out of your tote if you have them in a tote or in a sock. We'll put them back in a little bit, but those get to come to the front of your mat, and then you're just going to come up to stand, however that works for you. And from standing, you have your feet coming to about inner hip distance or wider if that feels better, and parallel, just to notice how your feet feel. And just notice up the backs of your legs, how calves, hamstrings, maybe into your glutes feel. Then we're going to take a really big bend to our knees and walk your hands down your legs to come into a forward fold. And as you come to a fold, you might be up high like this with your hands up above your knees. You might be elbows coming down to your thighs. You might have props for your hands to come to. But you want a good bend to your knees as you fold. And the fold is here as this pose to help you sense, help you tune into body sensations. So nod your head, shake your head, take some ear to shoulder, and then let your torso sway a little. Let yourself rock on your feet from fronts to backs. And then settle for one more breath. And then walk your hands back up your legs to rise all the way up. And now we're going to do a little roll out of our feet. So one ball, 1 foot at a time. I'm going to do my left foot first and rolling across the arch. And we're doing the inside, the middle, the outside, As you roll across the arch, you might notice specific places that have more tension or just kind of speak up to you with sensation. Just make a mental note of that. You don't really have to do anything different about it, just notice it. And now across the arch, we're going to press and then shift where the ball is and press, and then shift where the ball is and press. Just leaning a little into it, pressing and noticing if there's more sensation. Press up toward the ball of the foot, down toward the heel, just a little press. And now we're going to take the ball of the foot onto the ball, heel on the ground, okay? And from here, we're rocking across that front part of the foot, the transverse arch where the toes attach. So then your pinky toe side dips down, and then your big toe side dips down as you articulate through that transverse arch. And now you're going to try to grab the ball with your toes while the ball is underneath that front part of your foot, right? The ball of your foot is on the ball, toes wrapping down. Keep that grabbing and push as much as your body is ready for to do, again, that roll across. And then as you come back to center, lift and spread your toes, try to make them separate and keep them separated as you rock across. Might notice that your hands like to seize up a little bit because hands and feet are so related. And now we're going to do our big toe. So you're trying to step just the big toe up to the ball. Your mound of the big toe is on the ground, but the big toe itself is lifted on the ball. The other toes are off to the side. I like to reach down and move my toes a little. And now I'm going to try to just use the big toe muscle to push on the gas pedal. Muscles, there's more than one happening here. So as you push and release, you're trying not to lean into it to push, but to just use the muscles of the big toe. You might find that you feel some sensation up your leg, maybe even all the way up into your glute. That does happen. One more push and release. And then we're going to come to the three middle toes. So the ball of the foot stays on the ground, but you're capturing the ball with the three middle toes. And again, I like to reach down and move my big toe and pinky toe aside. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I just did and try to just use the toes to push and release, push and release. Try not to lean into it, but to use the muscles to push and release, push and release, push and release. Okay, so now we're going to move to the heel of the foot and go around the circumference. You might notice here how much you can let your weight pour onto the ball or how much you need to be light. Depends on what your nervous system wants right now. You can go in the other direction. And now you're going to step onto the ball with the front part of the heel, like you're wearing a heel on one foot. And as you press into the front part of the heel, this is a couple of pressure points that are directly related to your arch and your plantar fascia. So you may have more sensitivity here, you might not, okay? There's no right or wrong answer. You just get to lean a little into it and notice what you can take, and then go across. Okay, and then step off. And if you do have two balls here, sometimes it's nice to switch to the other ball to give it a little love. But then we're going to take the other foot and we're rolling across the arch. And you might already notice a difference in what your feet can take. One side might be more sensational than the other side. Mine always has a difference. Very normal. Since we're just not symmetrical beings, You're trying to get middle, inside, and outside of this arch. And then do a little press down in a couple of spots where you're going basically through all the four corners of your foot, through that arch, through the middle as well, and just press down. Okay, now the front part of the foot, the ball of the foot, you're stepping onto the ball. That's your transverse arch where your toes attach, and you're going across. As you go across, just take in if there's anything different in the articulation through this set of joints. And now reach down and try to grab the ball with your toes. And again, you're putting as much weight into it as your body is ready for. And as you rock across it this time, we'll go a little bit more into that nervous system detail. So if your body is in that heightened fight, flight, freeze through any of this, then the fascia is going to stay tight. The muscles are going to stay tight. All those connections are going to stay tight. So if you want to have any kind of release, then you need to maybe switch the mindset of needing it to be painful and instead needing it to be a sensation where you can calm, okay? So that means you might have to lighten up a little bit, okay? So now lift up with your toes, spread your toes, and rock across the ball. And key for your nervous system is to allow your breath to be long, slow, and deep, right? So check in and notice if you're holding your breath. Best way to stay in that fight, flight, freeze place is to hold your breath. So take a deeper breath, let it travel all the way down into your low belly. Okay, so now big toe, we're capturing the ball, setting the ball of our foot down, moving those other toes aside, and then push and release, push and release, push and release, push and release. And keep going a couple more times. Just notice on this side, is there any difference in the muscles that are showing up to make this happen? And now we're switching to those middle three toes. Again, the ball of your foot is on the ground, and then you can move your big toe and pinky toe aside as you push and release here, push and release. What muscles are you using now? Okay, one more push, release. And now you're gonna step off and come to that circumference of your heel. Going around in one direction a few times. And around in the other direction a few times. And then it's the front part of the heel, your foot, the rest of your foot comes to the ground that you set a little press into. And again, notice what sensations your body can calm with, okay? And then rock across, side to side. Okay. And so now you're going to go ahead and step down, and we're going to set these balls back in your sock or your tote. So you should have these two that we're going to work with next. We're going to do a little check of our dorsiflexion and our calves with our half dome. So half dome coming to your mat or your roll of blanket. And if you're using a roll of blanket, then you're going to be stepping onto the edge of the blanket. With the half dome, you're stepping on the edge of it as well. So now I'm setting my left foot, ball of my foot on the half dome, my heel on the ground. And so now this is a check-in. I'm noticing how my calf feels as I keep my leg a little straight and then maybe step my right foot forward and maybe step it forward again and maybe step it back if my nervous system just went tightened up, to find where it is that you can step forward and find that calf stretch, checking in more with this one to see how intense your calves are. Just take a big breath. Okay, and then step off, and then just notice the difference in that brief time. Notice the difference in your calves if there are any. And then we're moving the half dome over, or are you flipping the blanket over to use the side of it? I like to use the side that's got the fold in it on the blanket. But then right foot, heel to the ground, toes are lifted. And this is a big dorsiflexion. And we're checking out our calves, right? To see how tight and intense they are. So working your leg towards straight. If you're a hyperextender, keep that little micro bend. But then you might be bumping your left foot forward, maybe forward again, keeping the heel down. Notice where you need to be to let your nervous system chill out a little bit. Take a big breath. And then go ahead and step down. And just take a moment to notice. And even hinge at the hips, bent knees, walk your hands down your legs, and take a forward fold. As you take a forward fold, maybe put your hands up on a chair or some blocks to lean a little forward into more of that dorsiflexion, and check out the calves, check out the heel. Heel is all the way on the ground. And then we're gonna come all the way down to the ground now for this next rollout. So we're gonna come down any way that feels good to you. You can come to down dog and to hands and knees, or just sit, okay? And we're gonna take a prop, and it can be, and this is where you might use a foam roller, or you might use your set of balls here. And we're gonna roll on our runway of whatever you happen to have. You can have a box, you can have a stack of books. I have a good sized yoga block. I'm gonna put my balls closest to me on my runway of the block, okay? And then the bottom of my calf muscle is in between the balls. And then I'm gonna roll down my calf, or up my calf muscle, and then back down my calf muscle, and up my calf muscle, and down my calf muscle. And now I'm gonna roll up my calf muscle and find the spot that has some sensation. And from there, you can choose to put your other leg over. You can choose to not add some press. You can use your hand for the press instead, but then flex and point. Flex and point. Circle the ankle, circle the other way. Take a moment in a flex, squeeze the muscles of your calves. Take an inhale, and then exhale, relax your leg. Inhale, squeeze and tense, and exhale, relax. One more, inhale, and exhale. Okay, so other leg. Bring the balls right close to you on the runway, and then the bottom of your calf is going on to that, into that dip between the balls. And then you're rolling down your calf, or rather up your calf, and down your calf. Up your calf, and down your calf. Up your calf, and down your calf. And now this time, find that spot, find the place of tension for you, wherever that happens to be. And for me, that's slightly different. And remember, you can use your other leg to press. You can use your hand to press, but then flex and point, flex and point. Flex, point, circle, circle the other way. And now tense it up, squeeze the muscle, flex your foot, take an inhale, and exhale, relax. Inhale, tense. Exhale, relax. One more inhale. And exhale. Okay. And then we're going to come to our shin. So this one is going to be helpful to use this set of balls in your sock and a runway. Okay. And again, that could be a stack of books, or you might make your books the long way. You might have your chair to do this on, or a stool to do this on. Stool is really helpful, and even having your hands up on your desk sometimes is a helpful thing. I'm gonna do this just on my block as my runway, but we're gonna roll the shin. So for the shin, you get the block to be pushed back to about where your knee is. I'm on about my hands and knees, some wonky hands and knees. And then I'm going to the bottom of my shin to roll down the block and back up the block. And I want to be on the shin and not the ankle. So you might be adjusting the length of your runway, but rolling up the shin and back down the shin. Roll it up the shin and down the shin. And this time, roll it up the shin. Find the spot, find the tension, and flex and point. And this is why it's helpful to have your leg up on something. If it's on the ground, there's no movement there for your ankle. So flex and point, flex and point. And then in a flex, roll your leg side to side so your toes are turning. And then in a point, roll your leg from side to side. And now we'll do the other leg. And once again, the runway is really helpful. And we're starting at the bottom of the shin, not on the ankle, and then rolling down and then back up. I always say that backwards. Up and then back down. Rolling up toward the knee and back down. And one more time, rolling up and then down. And then finding that spot. And you are flexing and pointing. And then rocking it side to side in the point. And then rocking it side to side in the flex. And then you can go ahead and come into a child's pose here, settling hips back towards your heels, and just take a moment to check out feet, calves, and shins. And then we're bringing the half dome back to the front of your mat. And again, that can be that rolled up blanket. And you're gonna make your way to stand, and we'll do one more stretch of the calf and see if there's any more space, any more movement that happens for you. So left foot first, ball is up, heel is down. And then as you walk your right foot forward, just notice if there's any difference in how far you can step or sensations in the calves. There's no right or wrong answer. If you don't have any more stepping or less sensation in the muscles, just make a mental note of that, okay? It's not, oh, your body should feel completely free of sensation now. That just doesn't happen if you are a human being. So take a big breath. I know for me, I was able to step a little further and my calf feels a little bit freer. And so I can take a deeper breath and then step down and then come to the right foot. And again, you can just switch to the other side of your blanket or flip your blanket around or step to the other side of your half dome. And so on this side, as you put your ball of your foot up, heel on the ground, take a big breath and notice. For me, this ankle is always more tense because it's the one I've injured. So you can notice if you have an injured side and there's less dorsiflexion or a tighter calf muscle, it's just to take the information in. So now I'm going to step and take a big breath and then step again and take a big breath, but my body is saying no to that. So I'm going to step a little further back. I'm going to come back a little ways. Take a big breath. And now both feet on the ground. You can take feet inner hip distance or outer hip distance apart. Take a bend to your knees and walk your hands down your legs to come into your depth of forward fold. Again, set hands on something if that feels the best, or let yourself hang if that feels good. Take a deep inhale and exhale in and out of your nose. And now we're going to come back to our seat. And so you can settle back onto a hands and knees, shift hips off to one side, and bring your legs out in front, or you can sit in a chair. But just take a moment to sit up and let your eyes soften. Let your breath be long, slow, and deep. Check in with your body now and how it feels. Bring your hands to connect at heart center. Thank you so much for joining me for this rollout and mindfulness practice. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.